My very first conversation I had with Zuck was, I think, in 2007. And, at that time, if you guys recall, the Facebook traffic had flattened, and the executive staff that he had at the time was trying to run a coup to force him to sell it to Yahoo. So they were leaking all this stuff to Ballywag at the time, and Ballywag was, calling for Zuck to be fired, and that whole stupidness.
And that was like that famous story where you didn't sell, right?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't sell, but right at that time, his first question to me was, if I fired my executive team for the second time, would the board be nervous? I was like, well, that's not even the question, Mark, because, if you're asking that question, then you kind of have to do it, because you can't succeed with them. So, whether or not you can succeed without them is at least a question mark. You're going to die with them. And I said, but let's talk about why they're doing this. Why has traffic been flat? And he said, look, we doubled the size of the engineering team this year. We went from 400 to 800 engineers. And we had, the way the product is architected, we had a MySQL layer and then an API, and then the applications are built on the API. But a lot of the new engineers just wrote straight to MySQL, and they horked up the whole thing. And now it takes 10 seconds to log in. And so traffic flattened because of that. And I was like, well, how do you train these guys? And he said, train these guys. And I never forget that. And I was like, oh shit. I said, Zach, when you're 10 people, there's no knowledge in the company. Everybody just comes on and they jump in and they start working and so forth. But you get to 800 people, 1,000 people, you have a lot of knowledge that's in your company about how the product works, how you check in code, everything. You actually have to teach people that, because they don't know who to ask or how to learn that on their own. And so you have to do that. And to show you what a great CEO he ended up being, he created this 2-month boot camp for everybody in product management. Every engineer who entered Facebook had to go through this thing, learn everything, and so forth. So he was he's a phenomenal student of management. And, before he became now he's, I wouldn't call him a student. He's a great CEO, but a lot of these guys, can figure out the people part pretty fast, I would say. And like I said, the ones who truly don't understand people don't actually turn out to be good CEOs. They don't get to that level. You can make fun of Larry Page or Elon or Zuck or so forth, but they are actually very smart about people, all three of them.